Dear oh dear, Kai's on the hunt for a muntjac in a wood full of fallow. Will he find one before dark? Fast action shotgunning, I find out about practical shooting and you can take part in a world record. Win a rangefinder with an RRP of £220. All you have to do is watch our Fieldsports Extra show. Find out how in this show. We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. By nature, Kai is a busy bee, from running his catering company, Game and Flames, to working in the nuclear industry, to being a dad, the fishing, spearfishing, and of course, hunting. It was actually a catering job that landed him this permission in the east of England. It means a change from the usual fallow and rabbits back home in Sussex to muntjac and hares here.
It's going to be quite tricky, but I think the best option is definitely going to be in the woodland. The thermal does give you some advantage, but if they're really deep in there, it's just going to block it, you're not going to see it.
The local deer gravitate to this woodland block, which Kai will dissect using the pulsar thermal. Our first spot is actually striped.
We've seen something with a thermal, and I put the rifle onto it. David, I looked at it. All I could see was catching there like a paw or a tail, which is quite stripy. I think it could be a cat. I've seen a cat here before, even though we're quite far from houses.
Yes, on closer inspection and bad news for the baby birds, it's a healthy looking moggy.
So recently we've noticed a lot of the ends of these oak trees have fallen down like they've been bitten. And we don't exactly know what it is. So maybe you guys can tell us what's the cause of this. David's noticed it a lot home. I've seen a few, and now there's permission, we see them all over the place. So it'll be quite interesting to see what's the cause of these. Interesting.
We circumnavigate the wood and end up in a clearing that Kai and his friends have established to get on top of the numbers here.
It's a perfect space for the muntjac. So we've had some feeders here, some pheasant feeders as well, and they've been kind of feeding in. But I put a high seat up at the back tree over there that overlooks the wood. So the wood itself isn't all that big, but right in the centre of the woodland, it's really thick with brambles and bracken and thick bushes. And they come out to this clearing in the evening to feed. It's been here for a while now, but we've had to padlock it and put like number locks on them because there are people here who vandalise and trash. We're quite close to the town, so we've got to be careful that they're properly locked up and secure so no one goes up there and falls off. There's a deer.
Just our luck. Fallow. It feels like they've dispossessed the munties. One species they haven't seen off is the European brown hare. Not originally a native of the UK, it probably came here with the Romans. It's an animal that's been in the news of late too. At the moment, most shooters agree not to shoot them between the 1st of March and the 31st of July unless they're causing severe crop damage.
So obviously rabbit's smaller, but it's more of a white meat. Hare's darker, more kind of purpley red colour and richer. So when you actually skin them, they both look actually completely different almost. There's a lot of blood in here as well, so it's worth bleeding them out. Like some recipes that I think work really, really well with hare is like a hare bourguignon. That's really good. I've done hare bolognese. Hare does lend itself more to like a low and slow style recipe, really. I would definitely say.
Low and slow, like
low and slow. Yeah, so it's really good.
With an hour before dark, Kai decides to do the high seat thing, although it sounds like he may get itchy feet.
In my mind, I always think, I bet they're out on the other side of this wood, I bet they're out in that field over there, and you're sitting up here, and they're having a party somewhere else.
One of the benefits of the high seat is close-up observation. This fallow doe is the only deer that's made an appearance. It's fascinating to see her browse and hear her chew. Eventually, a movement unnerves her.
hunting or when you come out, it's not necessarily about pulling the trigger or, you know, the kill. This experience is getting there, sitting here and just enjoying nature. And that's a prime example, because that fallow doe, she's out of season, so we couldn't shoot her anyway, but it was just so nice to see her come out of the wood and no idea we were here, just happily grazing away. And just to watch her, to watch their behaviour, just makes it just all worthwhile. You know, like I said, it's just not all about the shooting, it's appreciating nature. I mean, to that close, you can actually just, you know, actually see what they're eating and hear them moving about, chewing and just going through the undergrowth.
The fallow doe definitely helped pass the time, and we didn't get what we came for, a bit of deer diversity and a crack at a muntjac.
Sure, there are muntjac here.
Positive.
Thanks, Kai, and bad luck on the muntjac. Next up, from doe a deer to our own little drop of golden sun, it's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. Out of season deer culls has left Scotland littered with dead fetuses. The controversy centres on photographs circulated online showing dead hinds and their fully formed calves lying dead beside them. Many estate deerstalkers blame government policies on reducing Scottish deer numbers and are worried that the public will blame gamekeepers and not the real culprit, the Scottish government. Others point out that culling heavily pregnant deer such as muntjac is good practice. The UK government plans to take over the role of gamekeeper. DEFRA Secretary George Eustace predicts minimum numbers of wild birds and animals in England by 2030. A new species reintroduction task force will look at the reintroduction of species that have been lost to England, such as the wildcat, and the introduction of declining species into new areas to help populations recover. This could include adding beavers to part of England. The government will publish a consultation this summer on its approach to this and the management of beavers in the wild. Antes have released another tranche of hunt supporters' contact details. The Hunting Leaks website, which is based in Iceland to get around privacy rules, has released details of Vine and Craven committee members with the please do contact them. It also released maps of local gamekeepers and riding stables. Chris Packham strikes again. His Wild Justice group has forced the government to bring in a licensing scheme for game birds released within 500 metres of European protected sites in England. These include special areas of conservation and special protection areas, and knocks out up to 8% of the English countryside for game bird release. The rules come into force from the 31st of May 2021. Basque says they are unnecessarily bureaucratic and disproportionate. Staying with Wild Justice, and it's turned its attention to game meat. It paid £5,000 to fund research which found high lead levels in pheasants sold in Sainsbury's. It's now planning to publish an opinion poll based on a survey of its supporters to achieve the opinion it desires. Community leaders in Southern Africa are challenging Sir Ranulph Fiennes for his support for a ban on trophy imports. Fiennes called on his supporters to write to DEFRA Secretary George Eustace to support a ban on trophy hunting imports. Now representatives of millions of rural Africans across Southern Africa have written to the Explorer asking him to stop spreading misinformation and jeopardising wildlife conservation in the region. 2 more British shooters have guaranteed places at this summer's Tokyo Olympics. Matt Coward-Holly and Kirsty Hegarty won gold in the mixed trap pairs event at the ISSF Lenato World Cup in Italy. Both shooters will represent Team GB at the Tokyo Olympics in July. The duo qualified in top place for the final with a combined score of 145 x 150. Matt from Chelmsford shot a phenomenal 75 straight in qualification, and Kirsty from Belfast scored 70 x 75. Webley & Scott is about to start building its service revolver again. Now heavily restricted in the UK, Webley has identified a market for handguns in India and is opening a factory there.
And needless to say, give me 2 years' time, we'll be making some of the 2 or 3 years' time, we'll be making some of the best weapons in the world.
The more rural you are, the more stable you are. People who feel less connected to nature tend to have heightened levels of psychopathic personality traits, according to new research published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology. The study also found that people who exhibit darker personality traits prefer to live in urban areas than suburban or rural areas. Shoot your own meat, says the World Wildlife Fund. The Swedish branch of the WWF has produced a guide on how to choose meat ethically. The guide is based on WWF's analysis of different kinds of meat and their impact on the climate, biodiversity, use of pesticides, use of antibiotics, and animal welfare. The only type of meat in WWF's guide that qualifies for green smiley faces in all categories is wild meat. Thanks to Jens Ulrich Hoeg of Nordic Safari Club for the story. The latest sportsman to catch hell from the Antis is the Fonz. Hey. Henry Winkler, who played the Fonz in the sitcom Happy Days, is also a keen fly fisherman. Last week he tweeted a photo of stud cutthroat trout with a simple message: "I can't even express the beauty everywhere on our planet." Animal rights extremists opposed to catch and release fishing have sent him death threats. Not cool. And finally, in Oklahoma, they're cooking up a storm. When PETA put up a billboard criticising Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma for declaring an Oklahoman Meat Week, he responded appropriately. He held a barbecue under the sign. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stuck in the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. Now here is airgun winner Alex Cutts. He is the member of the Fieldsports Nation who won the £450 Webley Raider PCP airgun from shooting kit distributor Highland Outdoors. And if you want to know a bit more about what Highland Outdoors is up to, making Webley pistols in India, we've got a film out about that this week too. Back to competitions, and this week we're offering the viewers of Fieldsports Extra a rangefinder with an RRP of £220 as a prize. It's the Leupold RX 1400i TBR/W, and it claims to be the most versatile, feature-rich rangefinder in its class. It comes equipped with Leupold's proprietary ranging engine for speedy accuracy and a bright red display. How do you enter? Watch Fieldsports Extra. How do you watch Fieldsports Extra? The easy way is to join the Fieldsports Nation. Follow the link in the description below. Next, sit back, fasten your safety belts and stand by for probably the most dynamic shooting discipline on offer in the UK. It is practical shooting.
Are you ready? Stand by.
That's a round of practical shotgunning demonstrated by Faye Williamson of Team Williamson, probably the UK's premier shotgunning team. I'm at a sports club in Worcestershire that's got bowls, it's got cricket, and it's got shooting.
A practical shotgun is a very hands-on sport where we have a semi-auto shotgun. Mine loads 9, I can fit 9 in mine. And as you can see behind me, there is an arrangement of targets, steel targets on the floor placed about, and we have to hunt them out against a clock. Fastest person with the most targets taken down wins the stage. You do need to be a bit agile, light on your feet, but I think for me, the best thing is working out your stage before you do it. So knowing where you're going to load, making sure you count your shots so that you know you're not going to run out of cartridges is always a good one. Planning where you're going to load as well will save you time. And just keeping focus on what's in front of you.
As Faye explained, it's got a lot to do with grace and fluidity and taking it at the right pace, and you'll see me messing it up royally on the TGS Outdoors channel in a few weeks' time. It's also got a lot to do with reloading, so I thought, well, here's something for us semi-auto owners to try at home. How many shots can you put down range in 10 seconds? We bring together all 3 members of Team Williamson to see who's the best. To keep this a challenge for all shotgun certificate holders, you start with 1 up the spout and you can only load and shoot 2 cartridges at a time. First up, it's Dad John Williamson, who's chairman of the United Kingdom Practical Shooting Association.
Okay. And time.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Time.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I cocked up the loading. Yeah, I cocked up the loading, didn't I?
10 shells. Now we move to Faye. And before she makes her record attempt, this is the first time I have filmed anyone using a Mossberg semi-auto, which I usually associate with special forces taking the hinges off doors.
Actually, it's quite a modernised shotgun. I was quite surprised because I started off with a Winchester, but the Mossberg, in comparison, for me, it's much easier to shoot with because it's got a better balance point. It's more centralised, whereas my old shotgun was very nose heavy. So I had to adapt my shooting style to match the gun. So with now the Mossberg, I'm having to readapt again to get used to a different gun. So, but no, it's well made. It's it's a fast shotgun.
Will she beat her father?
And go.
2, 4, 6, 8,
Time.
10.
Woo.
Another 10 shells. Part of the skill is loading technique. James Williamson explains it.
A strong hand load is off the shoulder onto the right on your strong hand. Weak hand load is the left hand side with your left hand.
Is he fast enough to match his dad and his sister? It's all down to last contender James to set a Fieldsports Channel record.
Go.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12! We have a winner!
Still out of control.
12 shots in 10 seconds, that has to be a UK record. If you can do better, let us know. You can find out more about the UK Practical Shooting Association at ukpsa.co.uk. Thanks to Mossberg UK importer Viking Arms for setting up the day, and search for Team Williamson on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who took part in that film. Now I'm glad to say I'm getting your letters to number 10, and that means, yes, it means Boris is too, so keep them coming. We want a ton of letters to land on the number 10 doormat, and I don't mean Boris himself, between now and August, so follow the link in the description below to find out more, fieldsportschannel.tv/write-to-Boris, and please share that link among your friends. Around 500,000 of us marched through London for liberty and livelihood. Only 80,000 of us need to write to Boris to make up a ton of letters, and that means you, please. Next, from vermin policy to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, it's Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Thanks to viewer Tim Guter for his recommendations for an air rifle pest control YouTube channel. Here's Phil's airgun antics ratting around a pedigree goat herd. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Jaff Jefferson had brought out his own film of our night rabbiting with the Rimmy, and here on the South Somerset Ferreters channel it is. Air rifle hunter through the glass is on a cattle farm in this film with an FX Impact M3 in .25 caliber and another in .30 to shoot rabbits and pigeons. Thanks to David from Predator Protection UK, who is out with his son Munch in this film. They have shotguns and calls for rooks and crows, as he says, nothing fancy, just great fun. Nitro HV is out controlling hooded crows on a hill farm in Northern Ireland to help protect sheep and lambs during lambing in the spring. He is using a 17 HMR just in case of a fox. Now, the people who brought us the practical shotgun day in this week's episode, Viking Arms, have also got a good quality shooting podcast film series out on their own channel. Here they are trying out their kit at our own favourite WMS firearms training in Wales. It's the fallow rut in Tasmania, and here is Aussie Bush Harvest's film about it, Epic Tasmanian Fallow Deer Rut Part 1, showing how the Tassies truly value their fallow herd. And finally, staying on a rut of sorts with the USA still obsessed with turkey hunting, here's the remarkable Rut Daniels take on it. Couldn't have gone 20. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. And that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, where you can click to like us on Facebook and on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. Best of all, pop your email address into our register page and we'll contact you about this show. Fieldsports Britain, it's out 7 PM UK time every Wednesday, and this has been Fieldsports Britain. Thank you. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.